Good evening, everyone. It is October 6th as we record this October 2014 shop tour. Gonna do this fairly quickly since not all that much has gone on in the shop, unfortunately. Here we're starting in the right corner near the door, as I always do. There's the bandsaw. Hasn't seen all that much use lately. Stuff for other projects that needs to go up in the attic, and some jigs hanging on the wall there. Some chargers on that shelf. I've got the garage door closed now because it's night and it's starting to get a little chilly. It is October, and that means that the lights here, that one and this one, are exposed because when I close the garage door they kind of go up underneath the garage door, so it's nice and bright here in the shop. As we come through, nothing new to report about the saw, though those are the pieces of the two funeral chairs I'm making, and a couple test pieces also spread out there. I had all those pieces probably in the last tour. The things I've done recently, though, is you see how the bottoms of the different legs have all been rounded. I did that over the weekend, and you can't really tell in this video, but everything from there to the left has been sanded, with the exception of those sample pieces. That's why you still see the blue X's. But I just have these legs, well, sanded. I sanded that with 120. I have the legs to do with 120. Then I'm going to go through 180 and then 220 on all of them. So I've got some sanding to go, and these silly little pieces are a touch on the frustrating side to sand. Nothing terrible, but time-consuming and a little tedious. But I'm back in the shop making some progress on them, and it's kind of nice to get something done, even if it's just some sanding. There's a garbage pail. This is the box for the Super Dust Deputy. I haven't finished setting that up yet. We'll get around to that in a minute. Still got tools here against the wall. There's the shop vac. I have the new filter I need to stick in it, and I haven't done that yet. Festool shelves, stuff hanging on the wall. Nothing too big has changed. All my woodpecker stuff was on the wall last time. I'm a little anal, and the fact that they hang at different angles is a little irritating. But that said, they're all up on the wall, taking up so much less space than their containers used to. And hanging on the wall there, I can reach them and use them. I think I'm ultimately going to make something that hangs this way and fits on the end of something to hang them, because I don't want to give up that wide swath of wall space. But as it is now, they take up much, much less space than they used to. So that is a good thing. I'm using them all more now because I can reach them. Here on the bench, well, that's the remote for my air cleaner, and the batteries died. And it just kind of pissed me off. So I don't know how frequently you guys change the batteries in them. The air cleaner is a couple years old, but I was still flabbergasted when I went to use it and the batteries were dead. So it takes 2 AAAs. I just got to pick them up. Probably even have them in the house. I just need to put them in. Here you see my prepping weapons, these sanders. They're a touch on the expensive side. I think they're $20 or $30 a piece. I picked 3 of them up over probably 4 or 5 years. That being said, they are fantastic. They take a quarter sheet of paper. They hold it nice and flat. They're nice, easy to use. It's a, I don't know if I call it a $30, $40 thing a long-term investment, but they do what they do very, very well. And you don't need a million of them, and they're going to last, I would think, not necessarily forever, but for a very long time before the pad on the bottom wears out. So, well, I didn't just dump a whole bunch of money into them at once. Acquiring them over time, I think they're well worth the investment. But what you can see I've done here is numbered them. So now that I've got the 3, it's my intention to basically keep them permanently set with certain grits of paper. So I've got them marked at 120, 180, and 220. So while I'm sure I'll have to swap out different paper on them once in a while, that's how I use them most of the time, and they've been pretty handy in those narrow pieces for the chair. I have been using power sanders for most of it, but cleaning up the edges has been nice with these. There you can see my 2 chair seats, my template for the chair seats, excuse me, and the test chair seat. That's the reinforcement I put in them to give it the strength because of the way the grain runs. So come around, there is an impeller for the beast of a monstrosified dust collector that I'm in the process of building. We'll get to more of that in a minute. Here's the Ghetto Work Center and boom arm on the dust collector. It's been a long time since I pulled this out. I cleared a little space in here so I could reach it. This is a swing boom arm. Holds the hose with little rubber straps, and that clips onto this. This is just a piece of plywood with a lip around it. The lip extends above and below. So I rest this over the sustainer, and then this piece locks into it, as does this piece. And this, you kind of see this got a spacer down the bottom and a spacer here, and this drops down inside of that square. And these simple V-notches, well, they'll hold a vacuum, but they hold the sander. They'll hold this sander. And they make it very easy. They keep the hose out of the way and keep stuff. And I made it out of scraps of 1/2-inch plywood rather than going for the outrageously expensive Festool accessories that do the same thing. I'm really of two minds with the Festool. Some of the stuff is absolutely fantastic and well worth the money. Other stuff, I wouldn't pay any price to use it. I can't stand it. And then there's just the stuff in the middle that's just overpriced. Like I think they call it their work center, is really neat, but it's $300 or $400, and for the money, it doesn't seem all that practical. I guess if I was doing this professionally, and the time it took me to make this was time lost, where I could have been billing a customer, I suppose I probably would invest it. So for that reason, I get it. But as a hobbyist, I made this in a couple hours, and it works just fine. It does everything I needed to, and it was essentially free using wood I already had. If you want to count the cost of the wood, it's still, what, $20 or $30. So, in any event, if anybody has a question about this, let me know. I haven't really written it up to the point where other people could make it, though I've had a couple blog posts. But if you want to know how I did it, it's really not hard. I'll gladly tell anybody. But moving back here, there against the wall is my Sharp Edge from Sharp Edge Tools, or G-Sharp Tools, excuse me. And it's a really neat sharpening system. Holds a stone here. You can adjust the angle by twisting this and sliding it back and forth. You put the blade in here. You can take the spacer and move it and even take it out depending on how wide the blade is. You want to keep the blade relatively centered. And you slide this back and forth, and it sharpens. And I've run 2 chisels through it so far. It's working out very well. I think that's going to become my go-to method of sharpening. Now, it really only hones it. It's not going to take a really abused blade. You have to grind that first. But once you've got a nice edge, that keeps a beautiful edge on it very, very easily. Then we come through. There's the dust boy I'm using now with a hose that belongs up in the attic, just sitting around it. And here is the monstrosity I'm building. So what we have down at the bottom is a drum, 20-gallon drum to hold the debris. The dust, if you will. I haven't connected it yet, but there's going to be a flexible hose there, so I can lift this up and pull the drum out. And then up here is the Super Dust Deputy I picked up. And I still have to build a wooden frame on it to support that impeller and motor that's going to go on top of it. And then off to one side, I have to still even buy the filter that's going to be on the outside of the impeller. I haven't picked up the filter yet, but I'll build that onto the side. And when that's all done, I plan for that to be my new and improved dust collector. I'm cannibalizing one of these dust boys, and I'm hoping to really improve it by the time I do that. Based on the success that Todd Clippinger has seen with his Dust Deputy, I think that should work out pretty well. So that's about it for the tour. You can come back here. There's my planer and my plywood. Nothing too fancy going on over here. What I'm really just focusing on right now is trying to get this chair put together and out the door and get Sal's clock done. You can see there is the board that I'm going to use to make new pieces to patch the top. But I really botched this patch job. I just can't give it back to him until I fix it. You can see that looks like crap. I'm really not happy with that, so I will fix that before I give it back to him, and hopefully that gets done in the next couple weeks too. But that's where the shop stands now. Hopefully it'll be a productive October. I've said that the last couple months, but I'm in the flow right now, so I'm glad of that, and I hope this momentum keeps up. Hope you guys are being productive in your shops, staying warm as the temperatures drop, and I'll see you all soon.